the end results are
Good.
Test
Yeah.
1, 2,
yeah,
1, 2.
good.
But yeah,
It's just,
yeah, it's like.
ready? Yes. Call to order the meeting of the Palm Springs Public Arts Commission, City of Palm Springs on February 1st, 2024, at 5:30 p.m. Jade, can you call roll call?
Commissioner Silvera,
Present.
Commissioner Burns,
Present.
Commissioner Fabo,
Here.
Commissioner Newkirk,
Here.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Present.
Chair Armstrong,
Here.
Commissioner Shelton. Not present.
Okay. Acceptance of the agenda. I would like to make a motion to move one item under project updates into items for discussion and approval. And that would be to moving Beautiful Shade up to discuss and approve a budget of $80,000 for Beautiful Shade in the parks.
Do you have a motion?
I'm gonna make a motion.
I guess I'll make a motion to move the agenda item of Beautiful Shades up to the discussion approval portion.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Any other changes to the agenda? All in favor of the agenda with the one addition?
Aye.
Great. Okay. Public comments. This time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Public Arts Commission on items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission. And agenda items if the member of the public cannot be present later in the meeting at the time the item is heard by the commission. Additionally, members of the public may address the commission on each item listed on the posted agenda at the time each item is heard. Although the Public Arts Commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. 3 minutes are assigned for each speaker. Jay, do we have any public comments?
We have not received any requests to make public comments, and there does not appear to be anyone in the audience.
Very good. Well, they may jump in when we, yeah. Remarks from the chair. I had some other things I wanted to talk about, but a couple things happened this week that I want to address. And I think I told you that in the time that I've been on the commission, the work has shifted. We were doing a lot of small pieces of work, a lot of small murals and small things happening. And we're going towards more bigger installations and bigger pieces. And so we have upcoming The Crawler by Ryan Campbell. And that's a 6-figure installation. That'll be going where Suspended in Time, the car was in front of the museum. We currently have a temporary art piece by Madabi, Nothing, which is in front of the museum. We have Pillars coming up, and then hopefully we will be approving a couple more of these. And then there's other items that are being donated to the commission and the collection. The AIDS Memorial, which I understand that they're out in the field getting feedback from people on that. So that will probably be a multi-month process. That won't be coming back to us for a couple months. There is also a Pride monument that I think I addressed a couple months ago, and that will be coming to us once the design is ready to be unveiled. And then there's other works that we're working on as well. What's been happening is the bigger the pieces are, the more people start looking at them. And the more people start looking at a meeting, because not only are we doing big, important work that's getting attention within city staff, but there's more departments that have responsibility within what we're doing as well. So with pillars, Jay and I were sort of like, oh, we need building permits for these. Who knew? We need electrical permits for these. Who knew? I found out that, now, we talked about doing stuff in Francis Stevens. Francis Stevens, the school is a category 1 historic site preservation. I was told by 2 chairs ago that, oh, it's only like 10 feet away from the building is preserved, everything else is fine, which is untrue. After conversations with historic site preservation, the entire park is a historic site. So any change we do to the park, whether adding something or taking it away, it needs their approval. Which means when we moved the John Clement piece, we were supposed to get their approval. Who knew? We didn't. So anything we do to a historic site, adding or removing, altering it needs historic site preservation approval. And I'm only telling you that, not that they're going to say, no, you can't take that piece of artwork away. We just need to factor that into our calendar. We need to factor that into our production schedule. So anything that is historic site needs their involvement, and it needs planning's involvement through that. Yesterday, Jay and I found out that the downtown area where the car was and Lot G, where we're eventually putting popsicles and the lawn chair, are historic sites. They're category 2. We got around it because there's none of the structure left. So we're not going to need any additional approvals from them. They will have to deal with some internal coding to release it once the building permits come in, but that's a historic site. And I was like, well, we've had sculptures there, we've put them in, we've moved them, we've had mirror, and no one's spoken up. Well, now they're speaking up. And again, this isn't to point the finger at anybody. This isn't to say we don't have to because we weren't told before. It's more that the stuff we're doing now is more important, which is good for us. And more people want to ensure everything's following the rules. So again, our role is we just need to factor in more timing for approval. So anything that's historic site, anything that is substantial needs a building permit. If there's electrical, it needs an electrical permit. It adds time, but we need to factor that
Usually how much time?
in. It all depends, honestly. I don't want to give, they said something like a new, and it started when I was talking to them about this potential pride monument. And because it's new and it's going in, they said leave 4 to 6 weeks. For
Well,
their,
I get a couple months, so
for
it's not
their
bad.
approval.
Okay.
For their involvement. On top of everything else that needs to be approved. So again, this isn't meant to be a slam on anybody, it's just, we need to factor that in.
Can I ask a question about this?
Sure.
Okay, so how do we communicate all of this? I mean, how do we know what's historic and what's not? And
Excellent setup. Thank you, Mr. McMahon. So I invited planning to come to our next meeting. And planning and the site preservation officer would love to come talk to us about this. There's a map on the planning site. I don't really go to the planning site. I'm not one of those nerds who sort of goes in there and looks at everything. But there is a map that tells you what's historic and things. But the thing is, I don't know the difference between a site 1 or a category 1 and a category 2. That's not our responsibility. Again, we go to the experts, and I would not want us to make that determination either. Again, I'm just saying this so that we can factor it in when we need approval. Now, it very well may be that, you know what, we'll just stay away from those. We won't do anything there. But there are times when we'll need to. We live in a city that prides itself on site historic preservation, so we may need to. But you never know. Again, I did not know that taking artwork away needed their approval, but okay. Who knew? Anyway, we do now.
I guess I have a question. Have you gotten a sense from them what their expectations are for, like, say, for instance, Stephen Park, where we have talked about a lot of different projects? What are they feeling about changes there?
And again, this is, and if they listen to this, forgive me, they don't think that way. They are just following their requirements of site preservation. Here's what it is, here's the system. So if we go to them and say, here's what we want to do, and we know we have the support of X, Y, and Z council members, it'll happen. It just may take longer. changes happen a lot. And as you know, there are many times when historic site preservation makes a recommendation and council overrules it. So I'm not saying things will, be problematic. We just need to be aware through the process. And I think I said to you, I view my main role as chair is helping everybody get their projects approved, getting them done. And the last thing we want is for everything to be happening and be like, well, I need this, which is what happened yesterday. Because the point I made is artists budget their time, they budget their materials, and they budget their money. If we throw something at them at the last minute and they've already started the work, they just can't house this massive sculpture for an extra 4 months. They don't have warehouses necessarily. And they budget their time, they have other commissions they plan. So the more we can get involved at the beginning of the process, the more we can be aware of that. Now, the good thing is planning department is going to be working much closer with us on these issues at the beginning. Again, so this is a benefit and this is recognition that the work we're doing is important and bigger. And it's not just, we're going to put a little piece of artwork in the park in the middle of the night. Okay.
Well, thank you for helping to bridge those gaps, because I feel like if we can get that process like smoother, it's gonna make everything.
I could tell from his response that Jay didn't know it was historic. None of us knew. Who knew, right? And I said, it wasn't in the staff report, so I think staff would know, but, look, again, these things happen. There's been changes in their department, changes in their commission, changes in planning. There's a new director of planning. He completely understands the situation. He's very sympathetic to artists' needs. Again, I just want everybody to know, and I will be involved helping you. Here's how we plan this. Here's how we do it. No one's going to be sort of stuck saying, how do I do this? But it is a little more labyrinthian, I guess is the best word to do it, because there's no handbook. Oh, you want to do a mural? Here's what you need to do. Here, you want to do a big piece of artwork? Here's what you need to do. It's really, we just push through until we hit a roadblock, and then we get through the roadblock. Does that make sense?
Makes sense, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, good. So that's it. So that's, I'll talk about my other stuff in the middle of that thing, but I wanted to address that because it's good. It's complicated, but help is on the way.
No comments from me tonight, thank you.
Approval of the minutes, from the meetings of January 4th, 2024.
We do have a change on the minutes, Mr. Chair. Item K should be changed from February 4th to February 1, which is today for our current meeting. So we'll go ahead and make that change.
Okay. Any other changes on here? All in favor of approval of the minutes of January 4th, 2024?
Motion on that?
Oh, do we need to make a motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of January 4th, 2024.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that would be as amended,
As amended. Okay.
corrected.
I knew you could catch that, Jay. Okay, items for discussion and approval. Number 1, consider an El Ranch list estates for Genotry Trail Park Public Art. Over to you, Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
And everybody read his lovely write-up.
Okay, so, I did a site visit. It is in fact a great site, in my opinion, great site for art. There's a ton of traffic. The downside of that is that there really is no place for the traffic to either slow down and enjoy the art or park. Unless they make an effort, a concentrated effort to go into the community, park on a side street and then walk out. Other than that, visibility wise, it's a great location for seeing art, on a flash. There are a couple concerns that I had. One, and this was just one of them was in the process of I guess, to back up a little bit, again, I come from a different world that I'd like to know you know, a budget and a strategy and planning, because it just struck me as all of a sudden, just willy-nilly, we're looking at pursuing this as a project where I'm not really seeing the big picture of all the other things that are moving. So that was just a kind of concern of mine. It felt almost like it'd become a one-off of this progress. And I kind of just, as a group, would love to see something that we're cohesively moving towards. And if it's, you know, we're gonna do one piece in every park and then go back to do versus starting this one whole process. So that has nothing to do with the site visit, but it just became very apparent to me that I wanted to make sure that there was a strategy that made sense for us. The other concern that came up during the visit was there was an impression by the neighborhood representative that the city has a huge art budget to be working from. And so, you know, they were suggesting some pretty substantial artists to do, to have place there. Meaning, you know, a six-figure artist that, you know, a sculpture, with the city footing the bill. So, but again, on, you know, the other side of that is the neighborhood's also willing to work with whatever we want.
Mhm.
So she's willing to do that, but there was, just to let you all know, there's this impression that the city has this fund that that people can tap into and just use. So that's one of the issues. So I kind of went around that, and I think we had talked about previously that I think that to open it up to, I would like to see this process opened up to local artists, local sculptors, to give them the first opportunity to show their work, because again, it's a decent location for that. Other than that, again, I kind of was wanting to understand the procedure a little bit more, in terms of like, this was one woman, I didn't want to put us in a position of all of a sudden the neighborhood coming up and saying, well, we don't want that. So I didn't know what that approval process was. I mean, it kind of what we saw a little of what happened with the AIDS memorial, and I'm kind of a little gun shy, you know, taking one person's word for it. And is there a process that we have to go through for the community to say, yes, this is what we want here? Or is that not part of
No,
the process altogether?
I'll talk through that one.
Okay. Okay. So I guess in general, it's a good location, there's visibility. There's certainly an easy location to put in one large sculpture, and the representative Janice was correct in asking for requesting large colorful art, because it would, anything kind of natural looking would just be absorbed into the landscape, and with traffic moving that fast, you wouldn't see it. So I do agree with that portion. And then the other was, there is one very specific spot that's very easy, accessible, and it would be probably my first suggestion, if we did this project in a phase, that would be the first phase of a placement of sculpture. There are two other areas that are very workable. And then again, she was looking at doing more eventually long-term, that, you know, they could probably hold a total of maybe 5 pieces. So.
Any other thoughts or comments from Tom's write-up?
I was just thinking, I mean, if you said it, I like the term you use, art in a flesh. If it is art in a flesh, why 5 sculptures that you can barely, why not a large sculpture? Why not a large piece? If it's going to be in a flesh, at least you, bam.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think that there's one larger space that a larger sculpture would accomplish the same task. The pieces themselves, I would think, would, just because of the location, would have to be sizable in general, but yeah.
She mentioned something that I kind of took offense with and I wanted to correct, but I didn't. So I'm gonna just restate it now. And the money, and she talked about the money that the developer paid. And when was that development up? 20 years ago?
Oh, at least.
Yeah.
for, you know,
Well, that money's been gone for 25 years. That money's not sitting around waiting in that they in, escrow where they can come back and use it. Because that money the developers pay goes into the overall public art collection fund. If we held onto that money, we would never be able to do art maintenance. We would never be able to do things like repair the Wyatt mural for a budget of 300,000. Because there certainly wasn't that much development around that area. So that money's gone. And our charge is we get our sort of mission statement annually, from council. Council says, this is what we want. And they don't really give us a write-up. They will make things in passing. And last April, council made clear, we want art in parks. Yes, downtown is important, but we want art in parks. Great. So that's why the two big things we're talking about today are art park specific initiatives. Doesn't mean that other things won't come up, but we sort of know, let's focus on the parks area. So now it doesn't mean that we won't do anything there because it is a park. But I think as you isolated, it's a park for residents that isn't necessarily open to anybody who's not a resident. You're not going to be in Ascena and say, oh, I'm going to cross the street and 4 lanes of traffic and then go play bocce ball here, right? It's kind of a private park. You can't even access it unless you go inside their community. But to me, it's like the windows, right? When you go in Manhattan on Fifth Avenue, you see the bright windows when you drive down for Chris. That to me is what this is. This is windows. It's not meant to go shopping necessarily. So we can come up with art that's big and bold and just sort of makes a statement that welcome to Palm Springs. We have art here and we are a culture that supports art. I'm all for that. But let's not pretend it's going to get a lot of people over there walking around. The residents will. They deserve art. They don't deserve $500,000 worth of art when we've got so many other initiatives that we need to accomplish. Now, Red Dragon went up in Las Palmas. I think it looks pretty amazing. I don't know if you've seen it. It's big and it's bold and it's bright, and it was $25,000. That's pretty amazing. So if an artist like that can do something for $25,000, we can do big and bold and bright, and it doesn't need to be a 6-figure piece of artwork. So we will accomplish what their goal is. We've accomplished what our goal is. It may not just be what their intentions are. So that's why now, if we are doing this Artscape program where we say $50,000 per park, artists can divide it. They can do one big one or 3 little ones or whatever they want. Eventually, we will get to this park and they will get a $50,000 Artscape commission grant. So we can get pieces in there. At the same time, I think if we do a call for artists for local artists, that gives an identity, and then it's not about necessarily because they feel they're earning art or they're deserved art based on what their developer paid 25 years ago. It's we're making a statement about Palm Springs, and Palm Springs is we have really cool, groovy local artists here. And so really what we're doing is we're co-opting their park to make the statement that benefits the whole city. Right. Does that make sense? So I like the idea. I just think we need to reframe the role of the park. So it's not a 6-figure sculpture there. We've seen we can get high quality, big, bold artwork for $25,000. You might say. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely like that, and if we can meet their need for a budget much less, I think that's, obviously beneficial. But one thing that definitely rang was kind of the community feedback, and it was like, thank you for going out there and speaking to them. And it's like, how do we make this a smooth process where, we are sort of, I guess, kind of including their feedback into it, but also making sure that this is what we're thinking, we're hearing them. But this is kind of like the direction to take of kind of reframing this as the park of saying, we support the arts. I think if it does hit that nugget, for sure, I think dropping that 6 figures and.
Right, so how do we find out whether, you know, there is a community group that's involved in all of that?
Okay, so here's where the challenge is gonna be. It's a very narrow park and their homes are right there. They're within 100 feet of where the sculpture will be. And they need to sort of give their feedback on it. Just like whenever we do a mural that's within 100 feet or 500 feet,
500 feet.
500 feet of a dwelling, they can give approval on.
Let me clarify, Mr. Chair, that's part of a public hearing for murals?
Right.
Okay,
And so I was gonna say, so the process is that this art is within that radius of where they can give feedback on. So we will do a public hearing once we see, and what I'd recommend is we say, thank you for coming to us. We appreciate that. We value everybody's opinion. This is what, as a commission, we feel we need to move forward with. We want to focus on local artists. We want it to be big and bright. There will be one substantial piece that will be there. There will maybe two smaller pieces, and then there will be rotating artwork. Every year, we will put a new young artist there as well. So it becomes more dynamic and less stationary. Make our proposal, give specific artists, and then, you go to the next community meeting and present the idea. And then they can come back to our meeting at the subsequent, much like, we need to go to these community meetings for these programs that are in specific communities. So that's how we get the feedback. And I will tell you, I was at a community meeting for the Eco Art Walk in North Riverside along the wash. And two people stood up and said they do not want any artwork there. They don't want any artwork there whatsoever. They want to keep it to what the master plan said. And they want it to make it, natural and quiet and no lights. They don't want any lights there. They don't want anything. They want to keep it to the master plan. And I respectfully said, I appreciate that. The master plan calls for art. And the master plan did. It specifically called where to put art. And then the HOA president of Cody Place stood up and he said, everyone in Cody Place is looking forward to the art. And then there were members from Cody Place who said, we're looking forward to the art. So there will always be community members that don't want something. You have to look at what the majority of the community is looking at. And I guarantee you, if they did a count, Cody Place has 200 homes in it. That's gonna be the majority right there. So there will be people that say we don't like that artwork. Right. There will be people that say, hey, we love the artwork. I think your challenge is some of those homes that are so close to where it is. If you have substantial artwork, it'll be visible over their fence. And they may not want that, and they probably have a reason to complain about that. So height will be an issue there. Okay. But you can do substantial other ways.
Yeah.
And noticeable other ways.
Yeah.
So. So I would say next steps are to write something up based on what you've heard. Does anybody else have comments? I know Carlos spoke. Write something up based on what we heard, circulate it at our next commission meeting, and then get on the community calendar for their next community meeting. And present it.
Okay.
Next. Review and discuss the process of hiring someone to research and put together the city's public art inventory.
We discussed this at our last meeting, and the consensus was that the project was required such time and dedication to research that it was worthwhile to look into hiring an outside consultant to put together the art inventory. So I believe Jay is filling us in on what the next steps are in the process for that.
And I just want to say, this is nothing new. Previous commissions have done this, have hired people to do the inventory, so we're not breaking the mold or the bank doing this. But generally, the person that they've hired was for a finite time, like 3 months.
right.
And I think this is going to take much longer.
Well, we have to prepare a scope of work. And that would go out to prospective businesses who will do this work. And depending on the dollar amount, that would kind of dictate how many businesses it goes to and the approval process, meaning does it have to go to city council for approval? So in a nutshell, under $10,000 would only require, to be as informal as we get, one proposal submitted, should get it done, but 10,000 to 25,000 would require three proposals, I should say. 10,000 to 75,000 would require three proposals for that informal bid, but again, three proposals would need to be submitted to be considered. So,
And so Jay, how do we alert experts and people that are interested in doing this, that there's this opportunity? And how do we determine what the dollar amount is? Because we may say, oh, that's $45,000, and then like, you're insane. And then the paperwork needs to be redone again.
you know, it could be open. You all, not you all, but to all the prospective respondents, they could submit qualifications, and then based on the qualifications, one of a vendor could be selected and then asked, can you provide a scope for how much this would cost? And at that point, if the price is too high, it would be negotiable and to bring it down. Now, that's one way. Another way would be just to have an open bid, no dollar amount, and the vendors would submit what they think, and then they're kind of going back and forth, possibly with different vendors and different dollar amounts, but that's also an option.
So the commission started to work on something similar to this in 2021, I believe, and that scope of work is floating around
Correct.
somewhere. Yeah, and that was a two-part scope. One was creating the inventory and evaluating the condition of the collection, and then separately, like a digital database
Right.
to keep it up to date and manage it. So we could go that same route or break it down.
Correct.
Or a citywide scavenger hunt of all the people
You know,
inspiring this piece of art.
This is, you know, from the very first commission meeting I was at, this was talked about. It's just, we do not have a handle on not only the total number of pieces, but the location of them and the quality of them. And then we need to move forward into the 20th century and, you know, sort of digitize it, so we have a photo of them, so we can do something online with them. We need to get signage that's consistent. So this to me is a bigger thing than just, hey, why don't you come walk around and take pictures and write up some Post-it notes? I would prefer to go to organizations that have done this in the past rather than just delaying. I don't know, this to me is like, you know, we spend so much time and focus on the quality of the artwork, but we're not doing anything to properly present it. Am I wrong? Okay.
So potentially one, like, multi-phase project that's gonna get us all the way to where we wanna go with the online portal, signage, records.
I see this as two phases. One is finding all the pieces, documenting them, making determination what repairs needed. And as I said, maybe they need to be recited due to irrigation issues or whatever. Or some pieces, you know, development is growing around them and they just don't show as well as they used to, which is what happened with the John Clement pieces. So that's really sort of just documenting everything. And then the next is taking it all and modernizing it. And that's the digitizing of it, doing QR codes on the signage, doing consistent signage, all of that. So there may be two different skill sets of organizations, but I think we should write it up as phase one and phase two. Because I think the money is gonna be substantial. I think it's gonna be a hell of a lot more than $50,000 for somebody to do all this.
Could we just back up for a second?
Yeah.
Could we figure out what the end result of this is? What is the purpose of it? And how is it gonna be used within the city? So, because that will help, I think, drive the phases of it.
Yeah.
To me, if the city's not gonna do anything with this information, then why are we gonna go through the expense? But if the city is gonna market it or promote it as this great art collection, or this is the walking tour that you're gonna do. This is, if there's a purpose to do this project, then let's do it, but if it's just gonna go away the next commission, then why are we spending the money? So who do we talk to the city, with the city and say, this is what we wanna do, how can you guys, is there a marketing department that would say, this is great information, we can give this to the chamber and the chamber can start promoting it, I'd like to know what the net result is gonna be, and then, because we can put together portions of that, like the current stuff that's going through, that, that we can format that and say, this is the format, and then hire somebody to go, okay, now dig up the other 300 pieces that we have.
So there's a couple answers to that. One, we need to do it for insurance reasons. That's a tactical
Yeah.
reason.
Right,
Two, I think we put this together and this goes in the city's master plan, which the city is formulating right now. And so if we put it in the master plan, I know the Parks is working on their master plan. It doesn't matter if the next commission says, oh, we don't want to do that, because it's out of the commission's hands at that point.
right,
It's just happening. And I will tell you, every council member has said to me, can you do QR codes? We want to know more about the artists. There's a need for more, and I guarantee you, once we get this in place and present it, light bulbs will go off. Chamber of Commerce will be all over this. 1PS will be all over this. I found out that there is I don't know what their full title is, but it's some board of realtors or something like that. And they have a lot of money and they're willing to invest it in communities. And I said, maybe they'd be interested in investing some artwork in El Rancho Vista. So they would be interested in that as well, if people are trying to show the vibrancy and the power of Palm Springs.
Okay.
Is the artwork, the people.
but maybe that should be written into some of the proposals that we're getting from these artists, so if we have, like the pillars, if we're gonna start QR codes, we're gonna have to have that information, so. Part of that whole process of getting them selected or awarded this grant or
Yeah.
for the thing, they need to supply us, because that way it's just gonna circumvent, someone in the future having to dig up.
Yeah.
Who the artist is and where they are.
I will say the ones that we've done in the past 2 years, all the artists get it.
Yeah.
They're sending everything digitally anyway. QR codes were mentioned in pillars.
Yeah.
It's, the woman you're trying to dig up information on, we don't even know if she's alive.
Right,
We know nothing about her. I mean, there was a book written about her, but we can't even get a hold of her estate.
right,
So it's really just sort of showing we care about the artwork. And to me, it's more about the stuff that's 20, 30, 40 years old
Mhm.
that we are more concerned about.
right,
Ryan Campbell in a heartbeat would be like, yeah, I'll do a video, Madavi, Jeff Pick with all the younger artists today, they
Right.
think that way anyway.
right,
So I'm not worried about them, but we're doing good work here. Let's let the rest of the city know about it,
right,
is how I look at it. And I'd rather do this as a substantial mission rather than little bits, I guarantee you, a lot of people hear about the Wyatt mural. They hear about the turmoil behind the Wyatt. They don't know about Richard Wyatt himself. They don't know about his legacy. So things like that should
Right.
be included as a part of it. Okay, so,
Commissioners, why don't I circulate the last scope of work and then maybe we could
Okay.
build off of that.
Yeah.
And
I would find an organization that does this, and I think that what we would do is we just talk to, in museums. I know Palm Desert has a really solid, they have a staff woman who does all this. Just talk to people and say that there's organizations who will, sort of review all of your art and then put it together, which is what we want. So, and I'm not saying doing walking guides or anything like that now, we just need to get the material together.
right.
Okay. Any other? And you guys are working on the spreadsheets of the artwork somewhat.
I mean, we took it as far as we can without like devoting subsist. I did go so far as to combine.
Yeah.
The spreadsheets that we had, so we have a list that is maybe a starting point for the consultant to work with, but it's got lots of holes in it.
Yeah.
That's gonna take a lot of time and digging to fill. Sean, did you have any?
Yeah, I was just, the 2021, information that we hired a consultant. If we can, is that information available anywhere? Is that what you're gonna circulate?
That's what I will.
Okay, for us, and then we'll be able, is that person out of the running or?
I spoke with her on the phone a few weeks ago and she is not available any longer because she's taken on some other clients.
The Smithsonian, which is, which would be a good one. If this is what you do, that's the one you want to work at.
Exactly. So, okay.
And as an aside, you know, I was doing something else and, you know, that we did I think 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, the Arts Commission and at the time Sustainability Commission did the thing for bike racks. They did a call for arts for bike rack. There were 5 bike racks. There's the big Spider in Sunrise Park. There's the one that's the spring downtown. It's called Palm Spring. There's the Turtle. There's a couple more. Well, the artist that did the big bike, there's a big bike. You know, it was a $5,000 thing. He also then became a much more renowned artist, and he did the transgender memorial that's in our lobby here. The beautiful thing with the butterflies and everything. He did that same one. And yet he said, yeah, I got my start doing this bike rack thing for Palm Springs 15 years ago. That sort of institutional knowledge is what should be a part of this as well.
Right.
You know, these young artists, I mean, how many artists do we have that started doing a utility box or a park bench and they've gone on to something else? So, you know, let's start owning these people and put them into our sort of catalog, if you will. So it ends up being an artist directory too. So, okay. Okay, discuss and approve a budget of $50,000 for Artscape in the parks. I wrote this up and circulated. This is something we've talked about for a while. I just want to make one revision to this, and this was part of the, I went back and forth on the evaluation of when we get all these. And at first I was like, oh, maybe we do a specific selection committee, but if you're on the selection committee, you can't vote to accept it in the commission. So I thought, well, we'll just keep everybody making the selection. We may have to do a special meeting to make the selection, depending on how many pieces come in. But I feel that we need to add in a couple people from the Parks Commission, for the Parks Department to be part of that selection process. Because they're the ones who know how people use things in the park. They have a better understanding of the community there. I don't want to put a specific number here yet, because what my intent is, whenever you do a selection committee, you really want odd numbers. And so this theoretically will be in July, August, September, and until we know everybody that can attend that meeting from the Arts Commission, then we will add 2 to 3 from the Parks Commission, and we can make that determination the day before. But I think it's important that we get the Parks Commission involved in the selection of this. And as I said, we split this up, so we're going to vote twice for the same program. One will be for Victoria Park, and one will be for James O'Jesse. That way we don't have to deal with procurement, and it's just easier to process because this is under that threshold, financial threshold. And that way we get to make the selection. We don't need an outside selection committee. Okay. And then, as I said, if we can get this done and it moves to council, blah, 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 theoretically, this could all be done and ready to go by next World Art Day, April 15th, 2025. I'm not going to be too upset if that deadline shifts. It's just something nice to have a goal. Let's see how things go with the approvals prior and with the amount of people that we get entering as well. The one thing that Jay and I learned with Pillars is as I said, we posted them on Call for Artist sites. I think there was 3 sites that it was posted on. That's where we got the majority of our people responding. A couple other sites sort of scraped the content and put it on their site. So it appeared on another Call for Artist site that we didn't put it on, which is, you know, that's the internet. city staff has created a call for artists page on the city hall website. So it'll be posted there, and it's sort of a redirect, and that's where the application will be. So, and again, this is $50,000. It can be used for one piece, 10 $5,000 pieces if the artist wants, one for 20, whatever. They can do as many pieces as they want for the $50,000. Any questions on this? Any revisions on this? And I've tried to put a lot of things in this write-up that Jay and I learned from dealing with pillars and the artist's questions and even things that they ignored the directions they were given. So I realized you have to spell it out 2 or 3 times. So making it clear, it can't have sharp edges. People are going to touch this. This is in public space.
And when will the call for artists be live for this?
I'm sorry?
When will the call for artists for this be live?
On the back of June 10th.
June 10th.
Yeah,
Okay, there.
theoretically. And that's what I'm saying, if it goes through the approval as possible. And as I said, I put in 6 weeks to do the contract, which I think is about right. And so it's a contract and application at the same time.
Okay. Thank you.
I based this timing on what we've learned with pillars, so I think this is doable. So the call for artists would be June, submissions, August, September. That gives them a good 6 to 8 weeks to submit, design. We'll also get a sense in that time period of how many people are entering, so we can then go out and say we need to do more pushing of it. Any other questions? Someone like to make a motion to approve $50,000 for the artscape in the parks for Victoria Park project.
I'll make a motion to approve a budget of $50,000 for artscapes in the park, for Victoria Park.
Second,
Second. A second.
all in favor?
Like,
Aye. Great. Someone like to make a motion for the budget of $50,000 for artscape in the park for James O'Jesse Park project.
sure, I'll make a motion, that we fund, Artscape in the Park for $50,000 for James O. Jesse, Desert Highland Unity Center.
Unity Center.
Unity
Yeah,
Center.
it's a Unity Center.
Yes.
Second,
A second.
all in favor?
Hi.
Excellent, thank you. What I like about these 2 projects, and thank you everybody for supporting them, is Victoria Park has one piece of artwork. Well, they have a couple benches, but they have one piece of artwork that's the totem pole. If everybody's seen it, that's kind of rotting and that needs to be dealt with. And James O. Jesse has the mural. The mural needs to be repaired. We know that. That's going to take a long time to figure out. This will get them some nice substantial artwork within 9 months. And I think that's important. Okay. Next one is Beautiful Shade, and that is to discuss and approve a budget of $80,000 for Beautiful Shade project. And there's a distinct write-up on that as well. A lot of this is similar. Now, this one is going to be slightly different in that when I first suggested this and I circulated the designs around, Shonda was like immediately like, I want those flowers. I want to do those flowers. So I thought, you know what, doing one of those big metal flowers painted could be like a $5,000 project. And then other ones may be a $50,000 project. So I thought it might be interesting for us to sort of give tiers of finances, and then we could award these amounts for these as well. I did put in here a concept of a suggestion to the artists that they create something that can be repainted annually by local other artists or local school children. So it's a way of, dealing with the problem that we have with utility boxes, where we like getting newer artists involved and giving them a tablet or a tableau to paint. Maybe we create something that is shade structures and these can be painted in that capacity. I don't know. That's up to the artist to submit. But the idea is that there will be 3 tiers. We'll award at least one for 5,000, at least one for 25,000, and at least one for 50. And then if we get a ton of great designs that are in the $5,000 range, we can maybe award more than those as well. And I think we will get some more interesting ones in the $5,000 range, honestly. Then this money will go to creating a prototype, which is what happened with the bike rack program. So create one prototype. And then once a community responds and they say, we really like these flowers, we want 10 flowers here spread throughout the park. That then becomes either a Measure J funding or general funds funding. That will not come out of the art commission budget. We're just paying for the design and the prototype. And the artists will know in their solicitation and contract, there may be multiple versions of this manufactured. But I think if we put a cap on of 10, we'll be okay. And we're not selling them. Okay. Any questions on this one? And as I said, this one has the full support of the Parks Commission and the Sustainability Commission. So I put members of those in the selection committee as well, joining the Parks Commission discussing it. The key thing that I wanted to make, and I think I mentioned this after I was presented this sustainability meeting, is they are focused obviously on their charter is sustainability. And I try to explain that we know we're not going to provide 100% shade to every park with these. There are other shade structures within the parks that do that. They have big ones in Dog Park and Duluth Park, and they have these really big, those are sort of institutional shades, I call them. And then there's the big shade ones for the CV Link, right? That's not our goal. Our goal is to create beautiful artwork in the parks that happens to provide shade. So we're not going to be able to cover every parking lot and every sidewalk like that with this. So I think that's important to clarify. This is not meant to cover everything.
Do we want to maybe have like a minimum of square footage or surface area maybe, or just kind of leave that open? I did see that the amount of shade that they provide will be a part of the evaluation process.
Yeah.
So just kind of leave it open.
And I think that there is a formula that sustainability has for that. So I would, I think for right now, for the approval process, we don't need to get into that. There's going to be a lot of legal revisions and write-ups to this before it gets to the artists. But, somebody did say, oh, well, could you use all recycled materials? I'm like, well, you're adding to expense and our role is not sustainability, that's your role. So you could find something, we want to do something that beautifies the park first and foremost. But, if anybody's been to the Getty Museum in LA, they have these big metal sort of vase type shapes that go up and they just have these bougainvillea
Oh, that's
inside.
beautiful.
And then the bougainvillea just fall. They're stunning. They're so big and beautiful. I love those. You
Yeah.
can make them look like these big women or something like that. The big hoop skirts or something. They're crazy beautiful. So something like that, how do you gauge the amount of shade? If you sit under them, you get shade, right? And they're
Can we
beautiful.
copy them?
I've seen them in a lot of places.
Yeah,
Come up with a different design. But they're stunning. So that to me is an integration of, we're going to put some natural elements in here and man-made elements in there as well. But that's why we have a call for artists. This to me, I think you'll get architects applying, not just artists.
Mhm.
This to me, we'll get completely different type of artists involved in this. So. Any other questions on this? And this is not park specific, this could go in any park. So these could go in James R. Jesse, they could go in Duluth Park, they could go in Sunrise Park. They could go in Francis Stevens Park in 2 years. Okay. And I just put the same rough timetable on here. doesn't need to follow that, we can push it a month or whatever, I just wanna. You know, I'm not assuming these all go in front of the council at the same time. But just knowing it's roughly that amount of time to get everything done from the city staff's perspective.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve a budget of $80,000 for the Beautiful Shades program.
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Um, This one, I think, will be a great program, because it will pull together three commissions working together. And I think that's kind of exciting. You know, most people don't really even understand what the role of the commissions are, you know. Human Rights Commission, people, I was talking to some artists that said, I didn't even know you had a Human Rights Commission. If no one really knows, sorry, Jay. That's his other commission. You know, so I think when we do these things, they sort of get attention, and I think that's important for our initiative as well. Any questions on this? Okay, project updates, Pillars of Palm Springs. Jay's temporary assistant Christine has been doing amazing work helping the artists get everything approved through permitting. As I told you, you know, there were the idea, surprise permitting process, but the permitting and planning department is doing what they can to get it done and get things approved on time. And to the point where Christine is after these people in planning every day of, have you talked to this artist? Have you done this? Have you done this? So I want to publicly thank her for keeping everything on track. It helps us as a commission because the artists don't understand. They don't understand why their stuff isn't approved yet. They may not know that the document they submitted is insufficient because no one told them. So Christine is on that and she's doing a great job of that. So I appreciate that. And some of the artists are near done. So at the next meeting, I'm gonna ask them for submissions so they can see their work in progress and you can see what's happening, but it's nice. It looks really, really good. Next is asphalt art update. Carlos.
Yeah, I don't know, Chris wants to talk about it. I mean, I was leading the Wyatt mural. I mean, I just, when you talk about an open call last meeting, Chris was not here, so I started researching on it, but then that's why I sent you an email because I didn't know the right procedure of doing it.
Okay.
But I think before even doing this, I want to bring something that I think is important. I taught community-based art education at Cal State. And my art students were involved a lot with the community. So the projects were truly in collaboration with communities. So there are two things that we need to think about. It's working with communities as community-based practices is something postmodern. We do it as artists. And then aesthetic viability. To what degree you have kids working with the artists, it becomes something that's not aesthetically viable.
Yeah.
So it's we need to find artists that can bridge that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I give the example of that artist that does that. And when we make a call for this, okay, I truly, otherwise, I'm this commission because of this. Truly, I don't want an artist that's working individually in the asphalt that day. It's an event, right? It's a community event, and everybody watches. You have to involve the community in some way.
Yeah.
You guys all agree with this, right? It's a one-day event. It's called Asphalt Art and so on. So I think when you think about the description, what kind of artists we're looking for is artists that have experience doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot. Judy Bach is an example with the LA mural. Kim Mabley, Tim Rawlings, and the Kids of Survival. But this has been done for a long time. So I'm pretty sure that the artists in the desert that do a good job doing this, okay? But it cannot be anything goes. It has to be aesthetically viable.
Have you read the handbook and best practices that I circulated from Bloomberg Philanthropies on doing this?
No,
Okay, I'll send it to you again.
I would love to too.
Yeah, Bloomberg Philanthropies were the ones who sort of started this, and they I've been doing it for 5 years, and they sort of said, this is how to engage your community, this is the type of person to engage with, these are materials to use. Jay and I spoke earlier this week or last week, I'm not sure which, I lose track, Jay, sorry. And what we're gonna do is create sort of a lower level call for artists archive. And by lower level, I don't mean the quality of work, but just the price point. And so what he's going to do, I don't know if Christine will do it or who, but we're gonna take every artist who painted a utility box and every artist who painted a park bench and put them into this sort of mail list. So that when we have something like the next airport mural or this mural, just take your one sheet write up on the opportunity like this, and it can go to 150 people right away.
Okay, Gary, but those boxes, they're not community-based practices. They are not, that was the artist individually painting the boxes. I'm talking about working collaboration with the people in the community.
Yep.
Yeah, so,
But you
so when
need
you
the design,
describe-
you still need the
yeah,
design.
of course,
You need the
I'd
design.
love to see this.
Yeah.
So when we make the call, we have to be very specific for this kind of artist that can do that.
But
Yeah.
a lot of the people who participated in the utility boxes and the benches, they had a professional background, you know, some of them were art teachers. Some of them have done different things, they're not just going up and painting.
Is
the
it
box.
good if you have the educational bug?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or community activism or
Yeah.
anything that sort of is dealing with community in that sense.
But, so I was going to email Sean and Chris to see if you could meet to think how we can make this call to artists and in a way that would be the best one to do it.
I'll send you the documentation
Okay.
again, just, and as I said, read that, it takes you through how best to get this done. Work on your pitch, the pitch letter, I sent you the stuff. Jay hopefully will have that, and I think there's a couple people that can help guide us on the community portion.
Okay.
Because that's key, that's what the best practices said was engage the community through installation. Because then they feel a sense of ownership to it as well. And
Cool.
again, the goal of this is it's traffic calming. Okay,
Mr. Chair, just an update, Christine has collected the email addresses.
oh, great, oh, good. But I think that'll be a great thing to have as a resource, just, you know, this is at 150 people. Wyatt mural subcommittee update.
Oh, I have good news. I mean, for me, it's good news. The last community meeting, Shonda was there with me and we were presenting, giving an update on the mural, okay? And I told them about your idea to preserve that as a historical documentation of the mural and everything. And one of the gentlemen at the table, I mean, the only man at the table, I don't remember his name. He's young. So he thought out of the box right away, something that I didn't think about it. And he said, what about enhancing the image, printing in tiles, and then do it again through computers? And I think this will solve the whole problem. Did research at home. And there are companies, there's one in Florida, that's what they do. It's called Tile Artisans in Florida. Basically, they work for murals outdoors. What they do, the tedious work is to enhance the whole image, digitizing computer, but there's very sophisticated software that does that nowadays. My students in illustration did it at Cal State. And then you have to blow up the image and do it. It's that tedious job. But the mural could be enhanced digitally to the same colors, original colors. It would be printed. It's fade proof as far as I can send you all the websites. The most important one is the one in Florida. They do the whole thing. I have, there's one in San Francisco, but they're doing more vinyl, not tiles. And what I was thinking about is just to recreate the mural again, okay, using technology and probably place in a different place. John, you know when you are in that meeting, when they have the meeting, and then you go to the bathroom, you cross a courtyard, right? I didn't see the courtyard very well, but I've been thinking about a second mural. The original would be kept as it is, using a coat to protect it, like you said, and having the same mural now with the colors enhanced. like the mural used to be. It would be printed on tiles
Yeah,
and
yeah.
assembled again.
You know, intellectually and theoretically, I like the idea. I would want to see a sample of that. Just to see how this looks.
I was going to call them, yes, no, that's,
You know, and do you have a sense of budget?
that's what I wanted to share with you, to see what you think. I think it's a great idea. I think we are using technology to do something that could work. And I saw some working file that was done the same way. I never saw it on tiles, but this one in Florida, that's what they do.
What this does is kind of a negative, is it, you know, before when we approved everything, it was the artist was recreating his mural on tile. So it was a piece of art. An artist was doing it. And then he opted not to participate, so now it's really becoming just preserving the mural rather than creating another piece of art. Because if you're having a computer do it, a technician doing it, it's a technical cure.
But how can you preserve the mural?
You
I
could
mean,
you could have another artist go in and redo the tiles as painted tiles.
I thought about that too, but it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
You'd be working in those figures to go with gradation in color to figure out if you could do it again. This would be Renaissance types.
So
This would be,
it's just, I would want to see a sample of the tiles and
Yeah.
the printing of it personally.
and I think the historical mural would be there. I think in honor to the artist, what I think we could find another place, the courtyard or any other place around that we could do the rethinking of the mural now.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Well, I was just gonna say, if you did want to pursue that, yeah, let's just start with maybe taking a photo of the mural if we do have it and see what their cost would be, what the quality would be, at least to get that conversation.
I'll talk to
But-
them before this. I would, if I give you it's called Tile Artisans. If you can Google and see what they have, amazing homepage with, the site shows everything they did in the city and in Florida. Is called Tile Artisans. And yes, I can call them and see in terms of, I need to measure the mural though.
It's big,
Uh,
yeah, and you know,
I thought that we had a discussion about if it was converted to tile, there'd be an engineering issue with the wall or not?
that was
No,
solved.
that-
Oh, okay,
That was solved
okay,
3 years ago.
oh, okay. Okay,
But I wouldn't touch the actual mural now.
Yeah.
This will be done in tiles and probably placed in another place. What do you think, Sean?
It really boils down to getting Richard Wyatt to sign off on putting his signature on it and him working with the tile company in order to still have that authenticity of his artwork. I know that's a big point of contention of making it that he's still involved. I know, from what I understand, he's not well. So it would be something that we need to do quickly to figure out if,
Present the idea and see if you would agree.
yeah, to do it. So it still has so it's still his artwork that he's working with this company in order to do it. So, because that seems to be the point of contention that the city is not repairing the work. It's that it's not for his hands. So if there's any way that he can participate with this particular company to get it done, it would still be an authentic historical piece of work that he's not
And
physically
actually-
putting it up there
yeah,
himself.
actually he
but
could
he's-
supervise it. I mean, the work, digitizing the image would be, we can send the image to this tile company and they'll just print it. The image will be an artist pretty much working, enhancing all the colors.
Yeah.
So I think he could somehow supervise that.
My hesitation, and as I said, I love the concept. I just see a lot of hurdles is this is going to take a lot of handiwork to get it to the point where he approves it. If he's going to approve it, to show the quality and the colors and everything from that digital file, this company's gonna want to be paid up front for that work. And it's the whole approval process within the city, because Jay, didn't you say he does not want to be involved?
Well, that was when it was doing the work,
Yeah.
cooking the tiles, the 18 months, was it?
Yeah,
Recreating and doing all that, but if it's reviewing, signing off, and maybe participating in some small way, that might be, a way to approach it.
yeah, as I said, my hesitation is, I've done color correcting work and I know you pay a technician to do that. You pay an artisan to do
And
that.
that's good, yeah.
Yeah, someone has to repair it. And that's a long process. But then, the color correcting is where his eye comes in. That's what he's gonna sign off on.
We do have photographs of the original mural, right?
Yes.
With
but-
original colors,
Yeah,
okay,
there's all through the stages of being.
yeah.
I believe we have a maquette of the original mural in our office also.
Yeah.
So I'll take a picture of that and send it out if we do have that.
I would say even the most original photos should go to them, because every step away from the original photo is color degradation. And then the colors flatten.
Yeah.
And, lines just start muddying.
And also reaching out to Richard White himself for the original photos, the
Yeah.
original paint swatches, because he still has all that. In order to get this, it was the physical labor that he wasn't able to do.
I think he'll receive the idea quite well. I mean, it's in honor of him to bring the mural as it was.
So this is the first time we've talked about creating a second mural. Was that the consensus from the community that they were up for sort of recreating it in a new space?
It was. From what I understand, the community wants is this particular piece restored, so. If Richard Wyatt signs off on all of this and the city thinks this is a wonderful idea, then it would go over the original mural.
Okay.
Because then it wouldn't be fading, it would have all the durability, which was in the original contract.
Yeah.
The idea of a second mural was to not put it on that wall and still have the mural. But the community from, the discussions we've had, that the back wall, they wanted an additional mural. So, so there is space for that, and it's not a south facing wall, it's a north facing wall. And that wall's been empty for years, and the community would love a mural. So it's not only just one mural, getting the first mural that's been there, that's historic to the community, in tile. Then it's another mural for another artist to be
Okay.
able to do.
So Sean, if then it's a big issue here. Would they like to have another mural? Like was presenting, the concept of the art is everything, the white mural done again, technologically speaking, or it could be another mural.
To
another
get
artist.
it done again, that it's the same mural, just updated on the other side, that would have to be presented to the community, because I think from what I've been working on is that they want the original mural restored, because that's the front of the building. It's putting the mural on the back side of the building. No one's there, from what I understand, from a couple of community members, they're like, no one's gonna see it back there.
And they're still open to like how the mural is updated, whether it's tile or repainted. They just want to see it.
Right,
Refreshed.
oh, well, I mean, the paint, from what I understand, there isn't a paint that can withstand the kind of heat. Without it fading over time, that would have to be touched up. What they wanted and what was voted on was a sense of permanence of this being restored to its original beauty. If there's a way that this company, can work with Richard Wyatt, that Richard Wyatt's like, this is the color scheme, these are the paint swatches I use, this is what's going on. He's got his hands on it. It doesn't take away from the original artwork because.
But
it's
it
the
will be
original
again a
art.
second mural. It would, that.
It would be a
the
mural over that first
Over?
mural,
It's a-
yeah,
It's
they
a
want,
restoration.
yeah, that would be considered the.
I mean, we're talking
restoration.
because, this image will be printed on new tiles.
Right,
And then we're taking down those tiles.
that's not, it's
those
just
are-
paint, it
yeah,
would be
paint on
basically
plaster.
like putting. Paint by numbers, like putting the pieces
But we are
over,
going
and
to
restore.
erase the original mural.
the
I
original
don't-
mural is
Yeah.
in the process of being erased by the sun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, either way, it's going to be erased. What, the community has, said to our commission over and over again, they want that restored on the front of the building.
Okay.
And it still be a historical piece of artwork. If there's a way that Richard Wyatt would sign off on it and he's got some, hand in it, that would be wonderful, but the reason why he didn't do it originally is because it was too labor intensive and he doesn't have the help to do that. But if this is digitally done, where the tiles are printed and then each tile is numbered
And they say it's fade proof, so,
and it's put up there over the existing mural to last for generations to come, so it would be a really, that's what the community is always wanted.
Chris, you had a comment?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so theoretically, if Mr. Wyatt then did approve this digital, if we have a compelling case, it's non-fade proof, it's gonna go right over it. I think that's, obviously a win because internally too, if that's their suggestion to put it on that same wall, seems like a no-brainer. So it's just getting his sign off and approval and his kind of, I guess, his involvement through the process.
Right, because when you drive up in the parking lot, that's the prominent mural that
Yeah.
you see. By putting it
So-
on the back side or the port side, it's not, you can't see it from the road if you're driving by. At this point, this particular mural has taken on it's a part of the structure of the building and the community. They don't want to see it go away.
So what I would like, and if you can find out, is let's ensure that their process, and again, I wholly respect their process, but they're technicians, right? They're not creating art.
now I have other questions to
Yeah.
ask them. I just want to share with you.
Yeah,
first.
no, I think it's a road
It's a
worth
great
pursuing.
name.
I would want to know if they've done any other art-worthy mural in this process. So what does this do to the mural by us covering it up with scanned? It may look great, but it's all of a sudden just, is it a billboard?
It's a photocopy
Yeah.
of.
So I would just want to know that, and if they have how does like Adam Lerner at the museum, what are his thoughts on this? Because I was with them when we found out Richard White couldn't do it, and he said, well, this is, restoration happens, and there's technicians who can do it, and I would just want to ensure that the process we go down, because obviously for our own sake, but we have to sell counsel on this. So it will be a lot of money, and our job is to ensure that everything we decide on can be sold through to council. And I'm guessing it's going to be more than the money that was allocated. Because there's gonna be a lot of color correcting that needs to be done with this digitally.
So this is gonna take a little bit, some time. I mean, what I think they should send us a sample of how this image would look like.
Yeah.
Like, if it looks like a cheap photocopy, forget it.
Yeah.
In what ways the quality of the final work will be. And,
But
I'll call them, but I'll present to them this coming Tuesday. I will be in the meeting.
so just know, we're not the only ones that have this problem. There's a lot of other murals that have faded and need to be restored. So other art murals have need to be.
But I think this is the oldest mural amongst all of those to be restored. We're talking about a 40-year-old mural.
No, I mean, in other cities.
Oh, okay.
In, other cities and other, they've had historic murals they've needed to restore. So this just happened, Palm Springs has never had to do this, but others have. So
And I'm sure we can get a general ballpark too of what their cost structure is like as far as maybe per tile or, you know, the
Yeah,
dimensions. So even
it's-
having the dimensions, like, is this way out of the budget or is this something like, okay, that's reasonable?
My fear with this, I've got many fears, but you should know that by now. When you have your scan and it's gonna get so big, they're gonna have to do the color correcting small. And it's right in the size, and then blow it up big enough for the side of the building, and it's all gonna have to be recolor corrected. Because you're dealing with your digital files, it's gonna
I
break.
don't think it's that complicated. I mean, I don't, I think.
It's gonna
Again,
be-
guys,
It's
Yeah,
gonna be done in pieces.
go to Tile
Yeah.
Artisan. It's
You can't-
amazing.
You can't have a
It's-
file that big.
It's amazing what they can do in terms of billboards and murals. They do
Yeah.
it just murals. But I agree with you. I mean, if you can see the pixels, stuff like that, forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
It's like when you go to billboards up close, you're like, that doesn't look like anything, but from
Yeah.
a distance, your eye fills the space.
you're talking pixels like, okay,
It's gonna be, having to be done in sections, and that's, but again, let's see what they have to
Let's see
say.
the capabilities.
So in this case, they have just, they'll have to take a picture of each tile, I mean, to avoid what you're talking about. They have to take a picture of each tile, okay, and
There's no
enhance.
tiles there now.
Oh,
It's not
okay,
tiles,
Oh.
it's just painted.
okay,
So they have to take a picture of it, and to do that, they're gonna have to deal with distortion. Because your camera lens isn't gonna get everything at the angle it's supposed to be viewed at. And, it's just gonna be complicated getting it done. Even the photographs that Jay has have distortion in them. So, but again, they have computer programs for that. Let's see what they respond to.
okay. Let's see. I'll have more information next time.
I think it's a great lead.
And I'll present to the communities Tuesday and see what they think.
Jay, any comments?
Yes, commissioners, the county of Riverside is having the Arts and Culture Month in March. And really what that is just highlighting museums, parks and cultural centers, things to visit in Riverside. And for Palm Springs, they're asking just for a proclamation that the city participates and supports and promotes the Arts and Culture Month in March. So what I'd like to do though is send you a draft of that proclamation. I don't think there's an action for the commission here. This will be a city council proclamation. But individually, if you give me input on things you think might need to be in there, I can fit them in and go from there. So that's one. Two is, I just want you to note that when we do agendas and things, the name of the Community and Economic Development Department has changed. We are now the Housing and Community Development Department, so you may see that on documents. Nothing to be alarmed about. You'll see that in things we do, so. That's
Jay, can you tell us when that proclamation will be happening so we can all attend? I assume it'll be a council meeting.
second meeting in February is the target date for bringing that proclamation.
Okay.
So it'll be before our next meeting.
Okay, and you'll, when you send it around, just attach that information. Okay, great, thank you.
I do have two questions, if there's time.
You have 6 minutes.
Were you contacted, did anybody get contacted about the George Floyd mural being restored? It was vandalized.
Oh, right, we confirmed we did have, room on a Tyson Knight agreement to do corrective work. It's just, I think the, property owner had said in previous communications that, when they start building out the site, they would let the Arts Commission know. And at that point, the Arts Commission could decide what to do with the plywood, with the mural on it. But in terms of making the repairs, we can request that. I don't know if that was something the entire commission wanted to do, but
I think we should repair it, knowing that we have to make a decision ultimately on what happens to it. And,
Okay.
just so everybody knows, the Tyson Knight, or the, I think it was Mr. Black, the George Floyd mural was done as temporary art. And it was done as part of the sort of the community grant program that the Arts Commission did, where when the city was boarded up during the COVID shutdown, they gave money to a couple different businesses to paint their billboards or their plywood and stuff.
Right, but I'm sorry to interrupt for time, it's just that, it's a bad look for our city. for
I'll
Black
get to that,
History
Shonda.
Month.
My point is, it is not part of our collection.
I understand
I
that, but we
understand.
need to do something.
If you will let me finish,
Quickly,
it is not part of our collection. It was never even formally approved by council, so it is not part of the public arts collection. It is on private property. What I said is we should have Tyson Knight fix it, and then we need to make a decision, which we will at our next meeting, on what to do with it. But it is not our collection, and it is on private property.
with that being said, it's still a billboard making our city look bad. It's beyond just our collection. I understand what you're saying, but it's a bad look and it's been nationally put out there that this is a billboard making us look bad.
We are not responsible for billboard. This is a planning department situation. The question to me is, the bigger question is, why has this building been plied up for years?
Sorry, guys, I actually
Okay.
was 7.
Part of the agreement with this was it could be removed at any time.
Can it be
And part of it,
removed?
when it was done and the Arts Commission notes is, it would be up there for 6 months.
Can
So-
it be removed because it's Black History Month, the way it looks now, it's a bad look for our city.
We do not own the plywood it's on. Anything we do, the building
The
owner needs
city
to
is
approve.
capable of doing this, it just, it.
City
it
needs the
looks-
owner's
it doesn't
approval.
look Bad nationally,
Shonda, it's the owner's approval.
I know that it's the owner's approval, and the owner gave a approval of having it there. It's been vandalized, and something needs to be done, because there's a lot of people coming to our city, especially this month for parades and celebration, and it's not a good look.
I agree.
we'll reach out to the owner
Yeah.
to see if there's anything they can do and also check with our graffiti abatement to see if there's anything they can do. So,
And also another thing is that for the one PS, if that's supposed to be happening in March, will we have a table there for, because it wasn't on any of the agendas, or was that something we already approved? I'm just.
We have not discussed it, for this year. It was something that a year ago we had talked about
About
putting
doing,
together
yeah.
for the picnic, and it just didn't come together in time, so. We can discuss it, if that's something that commissioners are interested in participating in, of course, but as of right now, there's been no movement there.
Okay, I just wanted to know if we were gonna have a presence there.
Yeah, it didn't even come to my attention. Is it still happening?
yes, I
Every
believe
year.
so.
Okay, okay.
In March. Yeah.
If commissioners want, we can do it. You know, I think the supplies have been purchased. It's just a matter of commissioners in attendance and doing it, being there at the table.
So I believe that's March 23rd, if it could be put on for the next agenda, that we can discuss it then.
So Jay, just to clarify, you will reach out to the building owner to find out if we can repair it.
Right.
We'll get it repaired,
Or if he would remove it.
remove it.
Yeah, because that's not the kind of calling card during this month we
Yeah.
want visitors to see.
Thank you. Thank you. Someone like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting until March 7th. Our next meeting.
2024, 5:30 PM in the large conference room, Palm Springs City Hall.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agreed.